All right, so let's start this broadcast with updates that have in fact come in from New Zealand, where a man reportedly went on a stabbing spree in New Zealand, and the incident has now been described as an act of terror by the police there. And according to information that is coming in, at least about 6 people are said to have been injured in the incident. A Sri Lankan national reportedly entered into a supermarket in Auckland and then used a knife to go on a stabbing spree. The police commissioner has confirmed that the man was on their security radar and was in fact known as a possible threat. Now, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is currently briefing the media, in which she has described the attacker as a serious threat to New Zealand's security, as he reportedly followed the ISIS's ideologies. Listen to what the New Zealand Prime Minister had to say.
This afternoon at approximately 2:40 p.m, a violent extremist undertook a terrorist attack on innocent New Zealanders in the Newland Countdown in Auckland. This afternoon I want to share what we know about this event, but also what we know about the terrorist. But first I want to acknowledge these 6 innocent people who have been attacked. 3, I understand, are seriously injured. This was a violent attack. It was senseless, and I am so sorry it happened. The attack began at 2:40 p.m. and was undertaken by an individual who was a known threat to New Zealand. The individual was under constant monitoring, and it was the police surveillance team and special tactics group who were part of that monitoring and surveillance that shot and killed him within, I'm told, the space of roughly 60 seconds of the attack starting.
Retaliation?
That's not something that I can comment on, but I've been advised that our security level will remain at medium. Yeah, sorry, Luke, I'll come to you. And then
you said that he was a Sri Lankan national. Was he also a New Zealand citizen?
I will be looking to see if I can provide further information around his immigration status at the same time as we provide further information around his engagements with the law.
Understood, because if he wasn't a citizen and he was on this watch list, why wouldn't a person like that have been deported?
I can tell you that agencies were using every single possible means available to them to protect the New Zealand public from this individual, every single possible means. And if I am able to, I will share all of that information, both the legal side of what we tried to do, but also other parts of the law that were accessed in order to try and provide that protection as well.
What are some of the markers? Why did he end up on this watch list in the first place? What are some of the markers? What were some of the red flags that got him being watched in the first place?
His interest in extremist ideology. And so, of course, the law was again used to pursue that as well. And I'll try and provide a breakdown of that when I'm able to.
Just to clarify,
right, and then I'll come to you just
to clarify for those laypersons, how can suppression orders apply to the deceased?
It's a question for the court as to whether they lift a suppression order. The suppression orders don't tie to the person, they tie to the court's order, is my understanding, and those are the issues that need to be worked through.
Prime Minister, just for you, considering you personally knew about this man, did your heart sink this afternoon when you heard the news?
Yes, because I know that we've been doing everything we could, everything that we could. And so, yes, I was absolutely gutted.
Prime Minister, this person has been monitored closely, as you say, for 5 years. The cost of doing that must have mounted into the millions. Do you know how much yet?
Well, again, you'll see that there are different ways in which this individual has been monitored. And again, that's the kind of information I'll look to try and provide you as soon as I'm given the ability to do so. But the very, very close monitoring has been in more recent times.
I just am back on the fact that this violent terror suspect was allowed in the community. Is it your view, Prime Minister, that the judicial system...
And just keep in mind, the reason that he was in the community was because of our inability through the law to have him anywhere else. So that will give an indication of his past behaviour and action. It did not, unfortunately, reach a threshold in the law for us to be able to have him in prison. So that is why monitoring was being used.
Is it your view that the justice system has let the country down, or...?
Well, as I've said, we used every element and lever in the law that was available, and when he was in the community, that constant monitoring of him, to the point that at the time that he visited the supermarket, He was being watched and followed. But again, there will be a chance for us to look at every single lever that was used and what, if anything, more could have been done. But as I say, watch to the point that the police were there with him at the time that this happened. You know, that level of surveillance was being provided because of the concerns that we had.
Does he have family here in New Zealand?
I can't answer that question.
Can you outline
Police
please the
that
legislation?
Jane, I'll come
Can
to
you
you.
please outline the legislation under which he was being surveilled? Was it the Search and Surveillance Act and the 2002, I think, terrorism legislation? Were both of those acts
This was
in
a
play?
public safety operation, and police are able to undertake surveillance of people who are suspected of or considered high risk of criminal activity. So there were a range of provisions being used. Some of those I can't talk about, but there are a range of provisions being used.
But the orders,
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.